6 hours working last night because you couldn't sleep. Good afternoon. It's good to see you. We are super grateful that you're back. I don't know about you, but I really quite enjoyed the dinner last night. Most of you were with us. Maybe a round of applause and a thank you for such a wonderful meal. Such a wonderful place. So the focus of today is really to build on what we talked about at dinner, right? We really breezed through announcing all of these different awardees and winners of this competition and groups, educational groups. Today we're going to dive into detail. We're going to give them a chance to share a little bit about what their projects were, what their story is, and have some discussion around that. That's going to be our entire morning. And then we'll break, we'll have some lunch, and then we'll come back and we'll have our own conference this afternoon. That's the rough schedule for today. So I'm going to introduce just briefly how this is going to run, give us a little direction, and then we'll get to it because as we've said, it's on a tight schedule. We're going to have these two tracks. One of the tracks will be in this room. This will be the track that is focused on the projects, both the excellence and the promising projects that we highlighted last night. Behind us, some of you have already noticed, is another room. If you just go out these doors and around, that will be our second track, which is focused on educational groups. And we're going to have some of those groups that we also recognized last night share some of their story with us. Now, we have two moderators, and I want to give them just one moment of an introduction so that you know who you're listening to, because some of you know them and maybe some of you don't. The first who will be here in this room, moderating our project tracks, is none other than Rao Machiraju. Wave your hand, Rao. And our second in the educational track is none other than the great Srini Srinivasan. Wave your hand, Srini. Now that's what I tried to put on the back of my page, and I also ran out of room for Srini. So Srini is also on the board for the DNDA. One thing you should know about Srini is that he'll lighten any mood. He will lighten any room that he's in. He's a former president of the World Design Organization and has done so many magnificent things. So he'll guide. In fact, he's currently in the capacity of a professor and teaches in China. And so he has a lot to say about education. So, think in your mind, where am I going to be? Will I stay here in this room for the projects, or will I join the second track for education? And we're going to give you a few moments, and we'll be as quick as we can to give you a sec to find a spot. If you're moving over there, we'll ask you to bring your things with you. It'll be about 90 minutes that will be in that group. If you'll be staying here, we ask you to come closer to the front. We don't want you all spread out. We'd love to see you come and join us up in the front row. So we'll give you just a moment to do that, and we'll see you in the tracks in just a moment. Here we go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So moving from one room to another always is a challenge. So waiting for a few more guys to join us as we briefly talk about. So this has been a wonderful yesterday. I'm sure all of you had a great time listening to a host of speakers about their projects, about their specialty things that they were doing both in the education and in the project sector. We also had a very lively question and answer session, which you don't see normally in normal conferences. In the normal conferences, we give like 5 minutes. Any questions? And somebody says, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out of time. Last question, that'll be the second question. But as you saw yesterday, we had a lot of time, and also the panelists were very patiently, answering the questions, and they really wanted to answer even more. So eventually we had a whole bunch of, questions answered, and we were fully satisfied that this was one of our objectives when we set to start the conference, 18 months ago, 1 year ago. So that was really nice. Don was very pleased because we wanted to have the audience, talk to us rather than the panelists, talk. So that was a fantastic scenario. I'm sure at the end of today's session, you'll also feel that, this was a different feel, different looking, different heard conference that you will not attend at. So that is the purpose of our agenda that we put together. So without much further ado, so I want to introduce my panelists. So today we're going to talk about, because these projects are so, even though they are listed in our website, not everybody is paid attention. They'll say, oh, we'll go and see when we're going there. So I'm going to have them talk like a Pachacucha style, 7 to 8 minutes, briefly talk about the highlights, and then that gives us an idea of what they're really doing and why they were specially recognized in this conference, right? So we're going to do that, and to let me introduce my panel. Anne, okay, she's here. Please come on to the stage, yep. And also Luis, please come. And then Pablo, and then Regila. So let's give them a nice welcome. Anywhere. They all know you, so you can sit anywhere. This is typically leading into an unconference, which means, no standard way of doing things. So rather than me introducing them, they already know, most of you already have met with them. So I'm going to have them in the order of, the one that will volunteer, they want to start first is my dear friend Pablo. So he's going to talk for 7 or 8 minutes. We have some slides which I'm going to put it. And then we'll have Anne, and then followed by Luis, and then we'll have Regila talk about their project. And then we'll get into question and answer. So when we are doing this individual presentation, please make some notes so that you can ask some very meaningful questions. So since it's a very time-bound project, at the end of the 90 minutes, we are also going to go back to the main hall to summarize these two projects for the people who did not attend, and we learn what the other teams have been doing, and then we'll have yet another long Q&A session. So please make notes, because it's very difficult to even know to ask. In fact, I'm going to start a course to tell people what to ask and how to ask questions when they are attending a conference. So it's in such a kind of scenario we are in today. So we're going to have, let me find out, Pablo's. Is it yours, Pablo?
No, that's mine.
That's yours. How did we end up here?
I don't know.
Okay, this is yours, right? Okay. Oh, they made the view here. Where is the full screen? There you go. Thank you. You getting it? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll listen to your...
All right. Thank you, Srini, for the introduction. Thanks, everyone, for joining this track. I'm thrilled to be here representing Universidad San Andrés together with Beatriz Sauret over here. And we come from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. It's a country that you might know for things such as meat, wine, football, popes, things like that. But we are also a country with a big tradition in design. This is probably one of the most iconic images in Argentinian design, the BKF chair, designed in the 1930s in Buenos Aires. Probably sit on it. This is Tomás Maldonado. You might have read it. He's a very influential thinker, design thinker of the 20th century. And our country has had a big tradition of using design for improving the quality of life of people through industrial goods and products and the like. But these are not the only things that our country is known for. It's sadly also well known for its economic instability. Depending on how we measure, we started the last century in some variables more comparable to countries such as Australia or Canada. And then sometime along the 20th century, we kind of diverged from them and joined other countries throughout the past century. We can have this amount of Argentinians in one room, and we will have exactly this amount of answers around when and why this happened, so I'm not going to get into it. There's probably not a definitive answer to that. But it's the context where our university comes from. It's a very unstable context in a way, where there's a need to use design for transformation in sometimes novel ways. And this is our program, the one we manage with Bea. It's Diseño at Universidad de San Andrés. It's a program that started in 2018, so this idea of starting careers in the context of education is very suited for us. And it was the first program in Argentina that is not design in products or in graphic design, or it doesn't have a disciplinary last name. That's why we have these pins over here, because when people ask, like, what kind of design is it? It was like, no, it's just design, full stop. It's just design. So it's diseño punto, that's where it comes from. That's our identity and that's who we are. It's the first program that had this vision. As Srini said, I don't have a lot of time, so I don't have time to get like a lot in detail about like either our program or what we do, but I just wanted to share like some things that make who we are, and then a couple questions maybe for you and for later today. The first one is that we train our students to guide, but not necessarily to lead. We believe that design sometimes should be a bit more humble. Design is not necessarily the most important thing in the world. And particularly we want our students and the people that learn with us to know that there's other ways of knowing and understanding, whether in other disciplines or in other cultures, that are as valuable as the ones that they bring to the table. So we try to instill that in them. The second one is that we are a bit distanced from this problem-solution framing, because not all problems have solutions, particularly as design is getting closer and closer to those wicked problems, climate change, the threat on democracy, gender inequality, and the like. Those problems do not have single solutions. And we struggle sometimes when we empower our students to tackle those challenges, that we see that oftentimes they feel responsible for solving them. So we're trying to move away from framing such as creating solutions towards planting seeds, making interventions. We're trying to steer that future to more desirable ones. So we're trying to have these conversations, and if you agree or don't agree, we'd love to talk a bit more about that. And then the last one comes from maybe our deep connection with industry. Most of our practitioners, including myself, we come from working in industry, both in the private and the public sector in Argentina and elsewhere. And we see this very worrying trend of designers becoming overly attached to their methodologies, this like linear processes. You can call it the double diamond, design thinking, or whatever you want to call it. But oftentimes we see designers that understand that design is just a recipe. And anyone that has worked for real knows that it is not, that it really pretty much depends on the context, the situation you're in, and no project is exactly the same as any other that you will find or you will encounter in your professional life. So this is very difficult to model in an academic environment in which we need to simplify things for students to live them. But we are for sure certain that design is not a linear thing, and we try to share that with our students. Maybe to wrap up, I have actually a couple questions, but maybe we can, I'm not sure if we'll get time to dive in the panel, but maybe we can talk afterwards. We'll have luckily some time later today for that. One related with time, and one related with our connectedness with space. And related to time and the time we are in, there's one topic that we have not been talking a lot the last day, but hopefully we have some time to catch up later, which is our relationship with technology. And yes, I am talking about AI and how it changes not just the practice of design, but the teaching of design. I'm pretty sure those of you who are in front of students are witnessing the use of AI on behalf of our students, sometimes in good ways, oftentimes not so happy ways. So one big question that we have is, how can we embrace technology but at the same time remain critical? How can we foster critical thinking as we do it and not think necessarily of AI as a skill as we talked yesterday, which I think is very appropriate, but in more profound ways, and what does it mean for our discipline and for the teaching of design in particular? And then the second one is in our connectedness with space and basically the communities we serve and the people we work with. And this maybe we touch in a bit more yesterday, but this is a tension we are always navigating, and I've talked about this with colleagues around the world, which is that how can we strive for a systemic impact without being detached from the communities that we serve? As design navigates this systemic turn towards more systemic ways of intervening, how can we not become detached from our communities, in our ivory towers, making our system maps, losing contact with the reality, and worryingly losing understanding that we are part of this system, of this map that we are designing. We are not just outside looking at it. We are part of this system, as well as we hear yesterday from our panel on design education. So that's what we had to share. It had to be super brief. Again, super happy to be here. Gracias, and thank you.
Hello. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
You can start.
Okay.
Your clock starts now.
No! Okay. Let's see. That is the first one. Okay, I'm going to hit. I get excited and talk too fast. These are things you should know about me, so I'm going to hit start on my phone because I know I will go over even if I practice. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm here to talk about the Albert and Tina Small Center for Collaborative Design, which is the community design center of the Tulane University School of Architecture. I already mentioned we're based in New Orleans, Louisiana in the United States, and context, as we all know, is really important in design. And so to give you a context about who we are, Tulane University is a private institution, predominantly upper middle class students, predominantly white institution, and a predominantly black city. Until recently, the majority of our students were not from Louisiana. And those are all important things to know about how and what it means to be the Community Design Center for the Tulane University School of Architecture. The university also has a long history of segregation and not a lot of trust over the years within the community, and that's the space which we work in. Our roots, we are 20 years old next year. We were founded just prior to Hurricane Katrina, which is a devastating hurricane that impacted New Orleans and the broader southeast Louisiana in 2005. When we were founded, it was really clear that we had two major sort of missions. One was to provide pro bono design services to communities that had been under-resourced and often harmed by the architecture and design fields, and also to educate the next generation of students, and particularly architecture students, to reimagine what design should be, what it can be, what it can't be, and their role in engaging with community and not solving wicked problems, I would argue. But anyway, to bring humility into the architecture and design professions. Over the last 20 years, we've done 150 projects across New Orleans and the broader Louisiana, reaching about 1,200 students. And I want to talk a little bit about what we do, because then we'll talk about how we do it. The product, designers are always often focused on the product. I think this group is a little different because we focus on process, but we're often focused on output, right, and outcomes. So we do design build projects, semester-long projects where we engage with community partners, and students learn to use a welder and build things like that, right? So we build everything from shade structures to community kitchens in a semester. We support organizations that are doing advocacy work, helping them create graphic design programs and graphic design advocacy. We do visioning projects for nonprofit partners that help them bring their ideas into visual form so they can go raise money. And we also do urban design projects and urban planning projects for cities, small cities and towns that don't have access to designers and planners, helping them reimagine corridors. Last but not least, the thing that I think, one of the things that we do that I think is most important is we do public programming and exhibition that brings together artists, makers, people from around the city to reimagine futures and engage with issues, these wicked problems that we're talking about, climate change, water, affordable housing. But more important, just to bring people together across race, class, gender, disciplines into space, and what can we imagine our futures to be. How we work is as important as what we do, and that's where like the Humanities Center Design Plus comes into play. So all of our projects come from nonprofit partners through requests, or city governments through requests for proposal processes. And this makes us very different than many academic institutions in the United States that often plop into places, or like I would argue lots of international development work where you plop in and you leave. We're very different in that way. So all the projects come to us, and then they're selected through this request for proposal process, 2 pages, where staff members support organizations in even designing and writing the proposals. And then they're selected by a selection panel that are faculty, staff, alumni, students, past partners, and they are making choices based on the ability for us to do the project in the time frame we have, but also are the organizations addressing these structural inequities that exist in our city, and also what are the learning opportunities for students, not just from the standpoint of design, but also from the standpoint of are they going to be able to engage and understand issues and broader issues that they're going to be working in the future. So these issues of climate change, affordable housing, understanding them at the scale of people, right? Not these big ideas. An example of this project, 3 minutes, yay, okay. An example of how we work and what I think is one of our successes, and then we'll do challenges at the last slide, is Parasite Skate Park. Parasite Skate Park is the only official skate park in New Orleans, and in about 15 years ago now, a group of skaters came to us wanting help figuring out how they could get the skate park that had been a pop-up to stop getting it torn down by the city. Right? And so they came to us as a, well, say, ragtag group of skaters, a variety of different ages, who said, how can we keep this going? We want a skate park for the city. This is an important place. We're a city where there's not a lot of space and a lot of programs for youth, and it's a place where people of all ages are coming together, and people from across the city are using buses to come and be able to skate here. And so we worked with them over time. First we helped the organization figure out, they weren't an organization, they were a group of skaters, help them build capacity to become a 501c3. And then after that, we're all about how do we transfer the power that Tulane has to help this organization gain legitimacy with the city so that they can negotiate an operating agreement with the city of New Orleans and also with the state. And then we also help them design a community-engaged design process that they, for the most part, led. Next slide. That included everything from skate days, special skate nights for women, what I call and what we call full-scale prototyping to try things out that led to a four-phase design that they could build over time. We did a one design build that helped do that was for the entrance, but over time the skaters have continued to build out the park, and so now they're at phase 3. And what is most exciting to us is we're working with the next generation of leadership with that skate park to reimagine what phase 4 will be, right, for this park. And the exciting part to us is our students have been involved throughout this phase, right? There were students who helped us do the design build. There are summer fellowship students that helped us do the renderings and helped engage with the nonprofit partner, Transitional Spaces is what they're called now, to help them think about what the future will be. And so to me, what the small center is and our success in terms of the Humanity Center Design Plus, both for our students and our community, is that we're constantly evolving. New Orleans is a place, like probably many of your places, that there's things that are constantly changing, right? And we're trying to adapt and change to both our students and also what's happening in the city. And when I go to our challenges, that's where some of our challenges lie. Academic institutions, at least in the context of the United States, are often very rigid, right? They want you to have one project and work on it for 3 years and have steady results. And that is not how we work. What we do is we follow our students students over the long term. We have long-term relationships with partners, and we can prove outcomes, right? We've done the traditional, oopsie, look at that. We've done traditional evaluation and both short-term and a long-term evaluation for projects, so I can talk to you about the impact that we've made in our partners and how we've built capacity in coalitions across the city. But it's still hard to get recognition for that within the academy. It remains hard to continue to build trust, right? We're obviously, I always say I never make anyone happy. I'm never far enough to moving fast enough for the communities and our nonprofit partners. And design justice community within the context of the institution I work in, which is much more, I would say, conservative. And then we're also working within the context of our policy and political realm that Leslie Ann referenced yesterday. So we're constantly moving and fluid and navigating these spaces. And I'll stop there. I have lots of questions too, but I'm going to stop. Looking forward to talking to you about it.
Thank you, Ann.
And I wanted to say
It was open, but where is it now?
Escape.
Yes, we did escape. Okay, we close this window. Now, I think we need some tech help here, I guess. to spread through his book and all through his teachings and his lectures and thoughts. So from that point of view, I'm sure all of you who chose to listen to these